Paul Barron and Andy Manion, a dynamic duo at the top of the order for the Mowbray Cricket Club. Welcome to both of you, gents. Obviously nice for you to catch up as well.
Yeah, haven't seen each other for a while.
Yes, very good. Very good to be in here. Haven't been in here for quite some time either, so it's always good to get back and run into a few of the other guys as well.
Andy, I might start with you. Your earliest memories. How did you end up with the Mowbray Cricket Club? Talk us through that.
It's probably it was just the expected thing almost, going to Mowbray Primary School and Brooks High School, and when you're younger and all your family and friends and that were playing cricket and footy with North or Mowbray. It was just a standard progression. I started playing, I think, when I was about 9 years old, and I was allowed to play one game against Midlands because they were a pretty weak sort of side at that stage, and I was really, really little.
Yeah, little tacker.
So that was the start of it, and then following years it was like kept playing the underage weeks and those school weeks with the club, and then obviously went on and played Reserve A, as it was known then, under the greats like Lenny Walsh and Lloydie Murphy and Brian Lynch and Dave Sarich, Salty. And just luckily went all right and started playing A grade a few years later and went from there.
What about for you, Paul?
Well, I started, boys won the premiership 81-82. I started the next year. I played cement cricket with Ravenswood, Wilmot Association, and Stan Reed used to have his butcher shop, obviously, and Dad used to get his meat off him. He said, "Oh, you better get your boy down there." So there you go. So I've come down, and the first couple of years, Stan he was in the stateside vice captain or whatever, so he was getting to go away. So that's where I started getting a few A grade games and that. So over the next couple of years, that happened. Then sort of just progressed to the seniors with the A grade, and because when we first walked in the year, we had like Peter Warren and Lenny Jones and Brad Jones, Mickey Sellers, and all these older fellas, and we were just going, oh wow, that's a pretty good mob. And as it went on, a few of these blokes retired, so they end up being spots and that. So
for those not familiar with it, for the younger ones playing cricket today, what was it like back then? Because obviously in Tasmania we had a lot of imports that would come down here to the state, people that had great associations with Mowbray, including Franklin Stevenson and of course the legendary Jack Simmons. I mean, did you see those guys around much in your time in the early days?
Yeah, quite a lot. The first game I played A-grade cricket, we actually had a guy called John Abrahams from England out, and he was captain coach sort of thing, and then we struggled that year, so that's why I think I played the last game of the season. Maybe me and Paul Pritchard were playing state under 16, so we got a game at the end of the season because Mowbray weren't doing too well. And then the following year, I think I started about maybe even halfway through the season, started playing A grade consistently as such, with Franklin was playing, and obviously Jack Simmons was a massive influence from primary school even, where he'd come out and coach, and I still remember his catching drills where he'd whack it up. We thought it was about 5 miles in the air. It was probably about 10 metres or something, but his influence was massive. I mean, as all Tasmanians know, with guys like David Boone and that under that same sort of program. But Jack was fantastic when he was at the club, and a great guy, and you learned a lot off him. So those imports in those days were great. There were sort of not too many of them. I know as I progressed through the ranks and played a bit more sort of rep cricket and that, there were a lot of guys from other states and that coming down here, which made it pretty difficult to get far at times. But certainly the influence of those overseas sort of coaches and that in the early days, I think that really obviously put Tasmania on the map a bit in cricket terms.
You scored almost 5,000 A-grade runs, NTCA Player of the Year on one occasion as well. Your highest score of 202 not out. Talk us through that innings. What are your memories of that day?
Well, I think it took nearly 2 days, to be honest, but I think it was a semi-final, and we only had to draw to get through to the grand final back then, because we played those 100 overs a day, but there was no compulsory closure or anything like that. So I think that was one of my strongest abilities. If I put my head down and knuckled down, I could sort of bat for a long time. So that was the aim of that game, just to bat as long as we could and bat them out of the game.
Paul, for you, in and out of A grade for the
Yeah.
first couple of seasons. You had such an incredibly strong squad, but when players were called away on state duty, you'd get an opportunity, and then in your third season, you really became a more permanent fixture of the side. How tough was it in those first couple of years as you were trying to etch yourself into that team?
Well, yeah, it was a fair side. So, you know, like, if you could play and say if I got a 20 or 30, I think, oh, you're going right, but you know where you're playing next week. Stan's back. But yeah, you just, I think to a certain extent, you might have went through it, Andy. I think the young blokes coming through, you basically do an apprenticeship at Mowbray. You play a fair bit of seconds or whatever, unless you're a little bloke called Ricky Ponting, where you only play a couple of games and they'll play A grade. Yeah, it was tough, but well, all these, I come from Ravenswood and I'm playing with all these Brooks boys. I don't know what's going on here. And yeah, like, and they taught you so much. Like, you knew when to pull your head in and all that sort of stuff. And Brad and Mick always there to give you some sort of feedback or whatever. And Mickey, first thing Mickey said, oh, you know, backing across and you're there, mate. That's the rules of turf cricket, because I was just playing front foot cement cricket. And yeah, it took a little while to adjust, but yeah, then I had a run of, say, third year. I was batting 6 and 7, whatever. And Brad said to me, like, you're getting 20s and 30s not out, batting down the order, it's not much of a challenge. All right. So he chucked me an opening and sort of went from there with Andy.
Feedback. That's one thing you could rely on with these blokes, was getting honest feedback.
Very honest, yeah, very
There's
honest.
a big place for that, though. I mean, this day and age, I mean, even as a PE teacher and stuff, you've got to be careful what you say to kids, you know. You've got to word it the right way and that. But at a club like Mowbray, it was very effective.
No doubt, probably on a personal scale, making 158 in a premiership side must rate up very highly for you.
Yeah, that was, well, Sawley made 214 that same game. We batted a fair bit together. But the first day, we lost the first hour. And it was 4 days then, Saturday, Sunday, grand final. So once we lost that hour, because we were atop of Launceston on the ladder, we could just bat whatever we wanted. And I think we were about 3 for 200 in the first day. I had 70 odd and Sawley had 40 odd, and the boys had taken bets the next day that Sawley would get to 100 before me, because I didn't have to, like, I was a bit limited in that, just played what I did have, and yeah, so I ended up, we batted the day, second day was rained out, third day made the 100, Sawley made 200, then we batted into the fourth, I think we made 520 or something, and me and Sawley got out. Lost a few weeks there. Young Nicky Hayes come in, he smacked 50 off about 30 balls or something, put it right out of reach. And then we bowled Launceston out for less than 200, about 196 I think. And in a bit over a session, because we had our West Indian attack, we had Brownie, Greg Campbell, don't know if Troy played in that game, but Donny Gardner. Yeah, and we had the only person in front of square was the bowler.
Andy, we know cricket's obviously a team sport, but the chemistry that you two had as an opening pair, talk us through how you worked together.
Yeah, I think we were lucky because it went beyond cricket a bit as well. So it was like, you know, once we started playing together and we worked out that, you know, we got on well together and our games were well suited. They were similar sort of game. We both just hated getting out, I think, which was probably a good thing for an opener, you know. So, you know, Merv's talking about us not necessarily being limited as such. I think we had a few shots, but we certainly didn't use them too much, you know, at the wrong time. And I think we started to get some good partnerships, and we worked out and went, hang on, this is doing our team a lot of good here, you know. All we've got to focus on to start with is hanging in there and staying in there for a while, and the runs will look after themselves. And certainly later on, when you had your guys like Nicky and Mickey and them coming in after you, there was no pressure to be scoring runs too quickly. Even on the field, we'd be taking the Mickey out of each other. Merv would be up there facing some quick like Greg Wilson or someone and getting hit on the thigh, and of course it misses the thigh pad. And he's looking up at me and I'm up the other end laughing at him, you know, going, no sympathy at all. But we knew when we hung in there and we mightn't have been scoring too quickly or whatever, that we really respected that partnership as such, because we knew we had to put in the hard work.
You were part of an era where obviously a great side, but the NTCA was a great competition. Who were some of the standout players that you saw in your era, not just in your team, but with the other clubs? Because as we said, the centralisation, I guess, of cricket, if you had ambitions to play for the state in Australia, you have to move.
Changed
What was it like
yeah.
back then?
Well, I played NTCA team one year in particular, and 9 out of the 11 players were playing for Tasmania. And the only 2 who weren't were myself and Sully at that time, because he was a bit younger. He'd just come in as a keeper. So I remember when they brought the Tasmanian kits around, they brought them around for all the players to try on, get kitted out for the year, because this was like a pre-season, I think, games or comps or whatever. And yeah, you know, you had your David Smiths, and Stan was playing, and Booney, and Peter Faulkner probably,
Yeah,
and
Fossey, yeah.
you know, there was literally 9 of them were regular or semi-regular Shield players for Tasmania.
I remember there's a few games we played. We played a game down at Devonport. Andy was away. And we've got down there, and it was a Kookaburra Cup game. I thought, Jesus, this week it's looking all right. And Brad had just got a 2-week holiday from the NTCA tribunal, and because he was supposed to be captain. And he said, didn't worry him. He was off with his Richmond mates on the Whitsunday Isles, around there. So we've gone down to Devonport, and yeah, this looks like a good pitch. So Mick's won the toss, he's batted. All out for 120, the ball was doing lots. We've bowled, and Brownie's taken about 5 for 18, cleaned them up, and Greg Campbell, he's got shits on because he wasn't going to get his 10 overs in. and Mickey come in, Mickey's had to take over, and he ended up bowling him out. And that we played South in the grand final. We dropped 10 catches in the first 2 sessions. They made Spud Cruz, I think Frank Woolley made runs too. And he's come in the second day, he's got this thing on the wall, said, although the odds may seem insurmountable, they're only a measure of how far we go. Yeah, we got flogged there too.
I was lucky enough to be 12th man for Tassie in one Shield game, and talk about Brooks High School and Mowbray, 4 of the 12 were from Brooks High School and Mowbray. So Troy Cooley, Roger Brown, Richard Sewell and myself, we're all from Brooks High School.